We have breaking news, some ridiculous information that we have to talk about. In an unprecedented move, Wizards of the Coast announced their new banned and restricted update a week early. Emrakul the Promised End, Smuggler's Copter, and Reflector Mage are all now banned in Standard, gone forever from Standard until the end of time. Gitaxian Probe and Golgari Grave Troll are both banned from Modern. I can't imagine the collective gasps, sighs, screams, freakouts, and questions you all must have. In this video, we're going to go over each banning, talk about what they mean for the future and what this means for Wizards of the Coast, and the future of constructed formats in general. But let me make one thing clear. This is a historic announcement in more ways than one. Let me explain. We'll begin with both Emrakul the Promised End and Smuggler's Copter. Wizards of the Coast banned these cards, citing decreased diversity in the Standard format. They said that Emrakul was banned because she faced too little resistance and ended games far too easily. They banned Smuggler's Copter because it was too efficient and used in too many strategies, again, decreasing diversity in the format. This was their attempt to reduce homogenization. If we're being real for a second, logically speaking, these bans do make a little sense. Smuggler's Copter is in more than 60% of all decks, which is an absurd number when you think about it. It truly is a staple of the format, so if they're going to cite diversity in decks, then there is justification there. As for Emrakul, Aetherworks Marvel isn't the most played deck in the format. If we're talking popularity, both Mardu Vehicles and Blue-White Flash are played more than that deck. And even then, getting Emrakul out isn't a guarantee, kind of the point of the entire thing. Of course, even if you take that into account, Marvel decks are almost 20% of the meta, which is still a high number. It just doesn't seem as high because there are really only two other decks at the top. This format truly is lacking diversity at the peak. But this brings me to a point we need to discuss. We've had formats like this in the past, formats that were utterly dominated by a few decks, and Wizards never batted an eye. Standard bans are incredibly rare, especially when a card has only been out a few months. And while I understand the justification around banning the Copter and to a certain degree Emrakul as well, we have to realize what this means. Wizards is clearly taking a more intense look at Standard. They want players to attend tournaments, and they want more players to have more fun. If they need to destroy the two best cards in the format, they will. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is what we're going to talk about now. Reflector Mage was banned because, quote, our data showed the white-blue flash deck was too powerful against the field, and Reflector Mage has been on players' lists of most disliked cards since the days of Collected Company. They also use the word frustrating to describe the mage. Control cards have always been viewed as frustrating or unfun. The current reaction to Reflector Mage is actually nothing new. And while yes, Blue-White Flash is crazy powerful, banning Reflector Mage because it's, quote, unfun is a bit overkill. It sets a very dangerous precedent, and honestly, if this is how they view cards like this, I think we can kiss pure control goodbye forever. Because control is frustrating to play against. It always has been. And while I do not necessarily agree with the mage ban personally, they have every right to do this if their goal is to destroy archetypes. But for the record, Reflector Mage, that might have been too far. Overkill after the Copter. We turn our attention to Modern, and honestly, this could be even more insane than Standard. We'll begin with Gitaxian Probe because this is going to be a short conversation. Played in almost 20% of all decks, Phyrexian Mana makes this the most flexible draw spell in the entire format. And Wizards makes a decent point when they say that it does give combo decks and turn 3 kill decks an unfair advantage. I've seen it a million times, but let's get something straight. Gitaxian Probe isn't being banned because of the card text. It's being banned because it costs 1 Phyrexian Mana. Phyrexian Mana is fundamentally broken, and combining that with drawing a card, there's a reason this common has always been amazing. I guess we now know why we haven't seen the Probe reprinted in a while. But the real big news, that's the last topic we have to cover. Golgari Grave Troll has been banned, but the card itself being banned isn't even the most impactful thing that happened. The reasoning behind it, jarring. Quote, Dredge, the mechanic and the deck has a negative impact on Modern by pushing the format too far toward a battle of sideboards. So straight up, Wizards of the Coast is literally saying that Dredge is bad for Modern. Wizards denounces the entire mechanic, then bans its best card, and clearly doesn't want it to be a thing. So again, let me be clear. If Dredge can somehow ever exist again successfully, Wizards of the Coast will 100% ban it out again every time. This is a precedent now. Dredge is not meant to be a played mechanic in Modern. Done. Over. And that is scary as all heck. Called, quote, unhealthy for the format, Dredge took the format by storm and is now hit hard again. So what does this say to other alternative deck choices? If they become too powerful, will they get banned out? The Modern ban list has always been a fickle mistress, but these announcements, shaking the format to the core, insanity. The absolute last part of the announcement was Wizards letting us all know that they're actually changing how they do all of this. Quote, banned and restricted announcements will now be made both on the Monday after standard legal set pre-releases and 5 weeks after a Pro Tour, also on a Monday. This means that they're going to be able to react to formats twice as fast, which in your mind should translate to mean that they will have a tighter hold on these constructed formats going forward, and we could just end up never seeing a truly dominant deck ever again. This year is going to be interesting, to say the absolute least. I need to know what you're all thinking. Please leave any thoughts you have in the comments. How do you feel about all these bannings? Any of them hit you particularly hard? I gotta get your opinion on this stuff. Honestly, one of the most insane announcements we've had in a long time. Please wow. We'll of course continue our Aether Revolt coverage soon, but we just had to make a video about this. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Wow.